Yeah, it's just so crazy right now because of the stress levels of so many people from just everything. Not that stress
Mm.
levels weren't bad prior to everything going on in the world right now, but I can remember, oh man, it was years ago. It was like back in the 80s. Oh, I'm so old. Anyway, it
The
was back
80s,
in, it was,
yeah, the 80s was all about making money, wasn't it?
yeah, I was back in the 80s and I had major stress everywhere. Stress, stress, stress everywhere. It was like stress to the gills, basically. And
Mm.
I would go, my body started reacting because the stress was so great. And of course, that's your body's way of telling you, change something. If you don't catch on your own, your body's going to come and let you know you need to make a change, right? So I
Yeah.
would go like to the grocery store and I'd be standing in line with my cart full. And all of a sudden, I could feel it. It start coming on. And the noise level would start louder, 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 louder. And then all of a sudden I could start feeling the room starting to spin. And if I didn't leave immediately, I didn't know what was going to happen. But I didn't want to find out. The fear was just like I was racked with fear. And mind you, I was not spiritual at all at that point in life. I didn't even know
Mm.
what it was. So I could go, this started happening more and more. I could be out to dinner with friends and I'd have to get up and leave. And everyone thought I was losing my mind because how could I explain this to them? Why I'm
Mm.
leaving. I'd be at a movie theater in the middle of a movie and I would start and I'd have to leave. The only way I could get it to stop was by leaving wherever I was. That's the only way I could control it. So,
So it was it like an urge to run away?
well, yeah, that's the only thing that stopped it was right.
Mm.
Get away from it, change it, think about something else, do something else. This is how I coped with it, basically, because
Yeah.
I didn't want to experience what would happen after the spinning started. I didn't want to see where it was going to go. I was too afraid. So it's kind of funny when I look back now. But so one time, and never happened at home. And one time I was home and it happened. And I said to myself, okay, that's it. We're going to find out what happens. I'm home. I'm not out in public. I'm by myself. I'm going to sit down on the couch and I'm just going to go with it. So I sat down on the couch and I went with it and I lived. Nothing happened that I couldn't deal with. And it was like once I just let it go all the way, that was it. That was, like I said, back in the 80s. I've never once felt like that ever, no matter what's happened in my life. And trust me, I've had a lot of stressful situations since, but never have I ever been back there. So I guess what I'm saying is it's almost like once you acknowledge whatever it is and give it a presence, it then dissipates. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's facing your fear.
Yeah. And it's like it just wanted you to recognize it. And then once you do, bye. Ha ha ha. That's kind of how I felt about it. And I never did. I never ever had even close to an episode of that stress anxiety again by just sitting in letting it run its course. And I
Did
didn't
you ever
pass
go to,
out. I didn't die, nothing. It was
did
just,
you, when you were experiencing it, did you go to your doctor or like
oh, yeah.
anything?
Well, I had a
That,
doctor's appointment, not for that, but for
yeah.
just general doctor appointment. And my doctor said, oh my God, what the heck is going on in your life? He goes, and mind you, he had been my doctor for like 10 years. He said, if I had seen you on the street, I wouldn't even have recognized you. And he did kind of force me to face it because he told me, he said, because he knew how I was, he told me, he said, all right, you got 2 weeks. He goes, and you better deal with it. He goes, You can have stress in your life, but you can't have it 24/7. And it's obvious you've got it 24/7. He said, so 2 weeks you've got to get rid of some of that stress. And that means
Mm.
changes. And he goes,
Mm.
otherwise you're back here and I'm going to run tests. And I know how you feel about tests because he knew I hated tests.
Mm.
And he said, I'm going to run the test and I'm going to show you exactly where you're headed with the stress if you don't get rid of it. So he kind of forced me to deal with it in my own way. Yeah, by telling me that because I didn't like the doctor to begin with. I didn't like anything that goes on in the doctors. And for to have to run all these tests to show me where I
Mm.
was headed, physically, I didn't
Mm.
want to, yeah. So he kind of pushed me. And I didn't even have to go back in 2 weeks because I had dealt with it. And I made
Wow.
changes. Yeah. It was pretty impactful on my life. One of those aha moments. Yeah. But that's basically what GP Walsh from Inner Reconciliation is. That's what that basically is. Bottom line, if you make it real simple. And a lot of people can't go there without help, which I get. But I was fortunate enough that naturally I went there without even realizing what I was doing. And that just shows you, once again, it's inner. It's not outer, it's inner. Yes, you can get help and be taught ways from others, but it's all inner.
I think people need help because would prefer to do these processes with someone else because a lot of people don't feel very comfortable being on their own. It's like the person you're with all the time is yourself, and yet you'd rather seek out company than just be on your own. It's almost like a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is. And there are a lot of people. I know 2 in my immediate family that can never be alone.
Never.
My one sister went from home to
Yeah.
marriage,
Yeah.
divorce to another marriage, but she wouldn't divorce till she had that other person. And that's how it's been. She's never once in her life lived on her own. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's real common with like our parents' generation.
Yeah.
Like my mom never been alone without, my mom and dad before he passed, 62 years of marriage.
Wow.
Never on her own. But then it was a different era too, because I can remember her saying, where was I going to go? I had no job. I had no car, and I didn't even have a driver's license. So how was I going to leave him for whatever reason? And really, I think that's like, you tell that to a 20-year-old now, they'd be laughing because it's totally different now than what it was with like my mom's generation, which is really crazy when you think about it, the difference in how it's all changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, every generation changes, don't they, really?
Yeah. Some for the good and some for the better, or worse, I should say. Some for the better and some for the worse. It all depends on how you look at it, I guess. But it's change. And that's one thing we've learned too, is that energy isn't created or destroyed. It just changes.
Yeah.
And we're all energy. And so it's just this constant, kind of like the ocean, the waves,
Ebb and flow.
Yep, the tide in and out. And it's always constantly changing. It's never destroyed, it's never created, it's just always changing. And it is always there.
So when the tide's coming in one place, it's going out in another place.
Yes, exactly. And it's always changing.
Yeah.
And it's never the same as well. It might look the same to you, but it's not.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm. Something to think about, huh?
Yeah.